Hello, 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 and welcome to another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. Tonight we have a special guest in the house. We have Miss Trevilia Hodge. I am so happy that she is here tonight. She goes by the name Baldhead Baddi. Woo! Welcome, welcome. How are you tonight?
I'm good. I am pressing my way, as my grandma used to say.
Hey, I understand it. We were just talking about how we both had some really full days today, which I'm sure most of you can attest to. So I just want to start off by saying, very happy to have Mr. Velia here today. We met a couple of weeks ago. I guess it's been about a month and a half ago now. We were at the Soul Fest in DeSoto, part of a event that the Doc Bookshop was hosting, and we had the pleasure of being neighbors. Our tables were side by side, and heard her amazing, powerful testimony, heard some of the amazing things that she is doing. And so I'm so happy that she accepted the invitation to be here tonight on the show. Mr. Velia, I'm going to tell you the very first thing I ask all my guests is please tell us who is Trevelia Hodge.
Wow. Okay. Uh, okay. Who is Trevelia Hodge? To me,
Okay,
everybody has their own definition. But when I define
right.
myself, to me, um, a gentle spirit who is making her way through life um, with grace, definitely the love of God,
Yeah,
and to like herself more and more each day.
I
Um,
love.
That's what I would say outside if I want to give my, accoutrements, as they say, of other things that I
Yeah.
do. But that's who I am.
I like the fact. First of all, I love what you said. Learning to love yourself more and more every day. I mean, I think that a lot of us are in those stages of our life. We may not say it out loud, but I think a lot of us are in those stages. And a lot of times when I ask people who they are, you would be surprised on how many people give titles. And so the fact that you consciously said, I could do those things, but this is who I am. Kudos, kudos, kudos.
Thank
Because sometimes life just gets us in a funk, I guess you would say, that we forget who we are. And that's one of the reasons I asked that question, is because I went on somebody's podcast a while back. And when they asked me that, it caught me off guard, Trevelia. I was like, uh, you know, because I could have gave all titles. I'm a mom. I'm a this. I'm a that.
you.
But
Yeah,
you really sometimes have to think about who are you. So I love that question because it forces us to have to think outside the box, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do want to read a little bit of your bio. You've got some amazing things that you've been able to be a part of. Uh, let's see, Voices in Art, Multi-Faceted Voices in Art, Advocacy, affectionately known as the Baldhead Baddi. Now, who gave you the nickname? Where did that come from?
You know what? I kind of gave it to myself. It was a moment, honestly, out of when I was in prayer because I had decided that I wasn't going to wear the wigs anymore, which I have
Okay,
come back to recently. But for 5 years almost, I didn't wear any other hair.
okay,
Because I wanted to embrace where I was with my alopecia. And so
okay.
it took me that amount of time,
Yeah.
but in the same avenue, someone would say something like, you're a baddie. And then I was like, hmm, well, I'm a bald
Yeah.
head baddie now. It was kind of that
Yeah.
aha moment,
Yeah. That's cute.
elevation. So
Yeah.
that's why I have the name the bald head baddie.
I think that is cute.
Thank you.
So, she has went on to be a winning filmmaker, author, poet, playwright, storyteller. I noted in your biography during COVID, you actually wrote and filmed a short film called Pandemic. Tell us about that. Like, how did you were you sitting around bored one day, locked in the house, you couldn't go nowhere? You were like, I'm gonna be creative. How did how did that come about?
Well, I went through COVID alone.
Mm.
It was a 2-year stint, and I went alone,
Mhm.
and it was like almost like a year in, maybe yeah, like a year in. I was
Mhm.
going like cabin fever, stir crazy, all the things. But I'm a creative, right? That's who I
Yeah.
am. And so I had to give into what am I going to do? So it started off with just me doing this film to show my family because people were still technically in the house. And, even if they went to work, they still didn't do a lot. Things weren't open and we're
Mhm.
all spread across the country. And so it was just basically for me to get an outlet out. And then I showed it to some people in my family. And I was like, you need to do something with this. And I was like, with this, I shot it on an iPhone. Like it's like one
Yeah.
shot, one view, which is something I would not do,
Right.
normally, but because I had got really sick during the pandemic, and
Mm.
um, and so I couldn't do like a lot of movement, so I wasn't able to do different shots and angles and stuff and all that. The
Yeah.
energy that I had, I did this film, and
Yeah.
I submitted it in film festivals, right? Very
Yeah.
bold,
Yeah. Yeah.
very bold. Because certain people that know you and you know that they would tell you the truth.
Right.
Um, had told me, "No, do something with this."
Yeah.
And it actually won a film festival. I can't believe it. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah,
Pandemic short film shot with an iPhone. So that just goes to show, creativity. And when you feel inspired, do something with it because you just never know where it's going to go or who it's going to reach, right?
right. Don't give
Yeah.
up. Do not give up,
Yeah.
and bet on yourself. Like do something different because the old me would have done nothing with it. Oh, I did it for my family. We're good.
Yeah.
And when you want to reinvent yourself and you don't want to live in insanity, you want to do things for the greater good. You take a chance. And at one of the film festivals, I met someone from Showtime, and
Oh,
they
wow.
showed the film in a theater, right? So then that freaked me out because I'm in this theater
Yeah.
in Wisconsin,
Okay.
and uh, I'm sitting there and I'm like, "You're about to put this film on the screen." And I was gonna leave the theater, and like these ladies, like, "No, you need to see
Yeah.
yourself on this screen." And I was like, "I cannot do this. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is a real movie screen that I'm gonna see myself on." And I was like, "I don't want to be a part of this. Like, I gotta go." And they were like, "No, you
Yeah.
have to sit in it." And so I sat in it.
Yeah.
And at one point during the film, because it was very controversial, it was definitely a homage to George Floyd and things that we were dealing with in the country during that time.
Mm. Yeah.
The whole theater got silent.
Mm.
You literally, it was so silent. That's something I'll never forget for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And when I did a post interview, one of the people that was there said to me, "How did you feel when the whole theater went silent like that?"
Mm.
And I sat there with him and I was like, "I'm still processing it." He
Mm.
said, "That showed you the power of your words." And then the gentleman from Showtime, when I won the award, he said, because I always made a comment like, "I would have never shot this like this if we were not in a pandemic." He said,
Right.
"I understand." He said, "That's cool." He said, "But let me tell you something. It's not about how it was shot, it was what was said." He was
Ooh.
like, "How
Power.
direct you were with your words
Yeah.
left everybody here different."
Wow.
Literally, like, it just changed me, and I ended up
Mm.
birthing a film company out of it. I shot more films in Spain. I was invited to go to Spain to be an actress in films.
Yeah.
Um, it just opened up this world for me that I did not know was available. So I'm very
Wow.
grateful for my iPhone film.
Well, that's amazing. That's amazing because I mean, what you thought was just something you were doing was really opening up a new door and opportunity that the Lord had for you. So that
Absolutely.
is a blessing, a blessing, a blessing. So what? Well, let's go back to your childhood a little bit before I get into your book and other things you've got going on. Tell us a little bit about your family when you were growing up. Are you an only child? Like, what did family look like for you?
No, I wasn't an only child. I'm so glad I wasn't an only child because I'm very grateful for my youngest brother's like my child. So I'm really, really thankful for our relationship. I love him. I have other siblings, and so don't be mad at me, y'all. It's just the truth. We're gonna be truthful tonight. So
Yeah.
we grew up with a bunch of family. Like we had family around us all the time. My grandmother was one of 10. My
Oh,
grandfather
wow.
was one of 20.
Whoa.
So growing up between New Jersey and all the way down the east coast of Florida to the tip to Miami,
Uh-huh.
year we were with family all the time. And so
Oh,
we there was no time that we were not with family. Some of my cousins are like my siblings. Um, so we had a lot of family time, a
yeah.
lot of learning who you were not,
Yeah.
and who you are, uh, and being the eldest. Even though I was very creative, it didn't give me a lot of time to be as creative as I wanted to be. So in
Right.
this time in my life, I'm able to be as creative as I want to be. And that little girl in me and that teenager and that young lady in me, they come out and we do whatever we choose to do, because it's still
Yeah.
our life. So yeah,
Yeah.
it was
That's beautiful.
it was a daunting time at times, but it was a lot of memorable times because we didn't have to have like invites to a party if we had something because it
Yeah.
was always a lot of people, tons.
Wow.
And every Sunday we had family over. Like every Sunday I don't remember a Sunday where there wasn't someone at our home. Yeah.
So was it like the movie Soul Food? Was it a table set?
No, because we didn't have a
You know,
table
and you know,
honestly.
it, in the movie Soul Food, like every Sunday they had the Sunday dinner with the big spread.
Yeah, it was that kind of food, but we didn't have a big enough table, so people would be all over the house,
I get
uh,
it. I get
you know,
it.
congregating and conversing, or up in the family room upstairs, and
Yeah.
but definitely always a big spread like that. And then people are like, "Well, what do y'all do for Thanksgiving?" I said, "You
Yeah.
just have to come over for Thanksgiving and see what we do." Yeah.
That's a blessing. I That makes me think back about what it was like when my grandmother was living. When my
Mhm.
grandmother was living, my mom, her family had nine, actually 10, but one passed away. But my grandmother used to cook big spreads, and Sundays were a big deal, and Sundays and music and all that.
Oh, what?
You took me back there for a minute. You took me back there for a minute. What part did faith play in your family?
My great grandfather was the pastor of our church.
Wow. Okay.
Um, there was an opportunity until I learned what agency was for myself to
Yeah.
do anything but be in the community of church. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Um, and thinking I had an understanding of who God was and all of
Hmm.
that, but more so um, following the tone line because my mother was a teenage mom. So my
Okay.
grandmother was the one who was a matriarch and did all the cooking and all that on Sundays. And even though we all participated because we had to learn and she taught us, um, so it was like my great grandfather was like my grandfather, my grandparents were like my parents at one point in my
Right.
life.
Yeah.
Um, and so I grew up in the church. Like I don't remember a time that I wasn't in the church until I
Right.
decided at one point I had to decide what I'm here for. So
Mhm.
I had to grow up with a strong faith with some of the things that I endured growing up.
Okay.
I had a faith because I did believe in God at a young age. I just
Right.
didn't know about relationship. So I didn't have that. I had tradition. I had following the leader kind of what we do because we're family and this is what we do every week. And
Mhm.
we have to be
Yeah.
here 'cause we're the first family. And that's what we did. So I did
Yeah.
what was expected of me.
Yeah.
And now I do what I need to do with my relationship with God because there's a relationship.
Yeah. I talk a lot about that. The Lord kind of shined the light on that for me. And that's kind of one of the things that I talk about a lot is there's a difference between religion and relationship. Because I as well grew up in church all my life. My family was in church, but we were just in the building, you know. Christ wasn't necessarily in us.
I
And
hear you.
so there is a difference between the Sunday Wednesday tradition because this is just what we do, and then that real revelation of who Christ is. And so that is the prayer for everyone that we get to a point that we have personal relationship because that's when you really get to know who the Lord is for yourself.
Yes.
I want to kind of ask you a couple of questions to kind of just lead up to you telling us a little bit about your book. Um, the baby elephant with the blue balloon. Was this your very first book, or was this your second book? Kind of lead us into what got you into writing, and talk a little bit about that.
Well, I've been a part of two anthologies. I was a part of a poet anthology in the New Brunswick Library System, had many years ago. And then I had some chapbooks when I used to go out and tour and do poetry. And then I was in an anthology with women of short stories and poetry about
Mhm,
2 years ago. And this is my first book on my own, and it's my first children's book. So
mhm.
yeah. Hmm.
So I want you to share your story that led you to write this book, and then just kind of paint the picture for us, the journey of finding the strength and the courage to tell this beautiful story. I'm yielding the floor to you. Just tell us in your way about your story.
Well, my story is a story of trust in God,
Mhm,
right? Um, and that's how I was able to share, because we
mhm,
have a lot of people on this planet that suffer from miscarriage and loss of children, and children at birth, SIDS, and things of that magnitude that they deal with in how losing a child. And
mhm.
I tell people, like, guilt is one thing, but the guilt you feel when you lose a child is beyond comprehension. I can't explain it still. And I was embarrassed. And so for many years, I hid my story. I hid that I had lost a child. And everybody's going, "You'll be such a good parent. Why are you not a parent? Like, you have all these other kids that, they're not your birth children, but you mother them and blah, blah, blah. Why?" And it would burn inside me, because I didn't want to be labeled as that person. And then I didn't want to let go of what I had, the remnants of this child. Right. And then one day in prayer and just being still, God was like, "This is killing you.
Mm.
So if you give it to me, I'll give you something out of it, right? I'll make
Mm.
beautiful."
Jesus. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I said, okay. And then it was in that pandemic,
Yeah.
I started sharing the story of what happened, and didn't go into too many details because it's definitely um, it was a domestic violence situation, so it was tough.
Mhm.
Um, but enough to let people know I was carrying a child. I, was excited about it. It didn't happen. And I love elephants. I do.
Mm.
I've loved them since I was a kid. I'm like obsessed with them. They're like, my favorite.
Yeah.
Adopted, loving them, caring for them, cleaning them, doing all the things. I love elephants. And with releasing this, I was like, I want to share to help people release. I don't need to
Yeah.
share my story, right? To help
Mhm.
people release, but I could share a story so people
Mhm.
can feel comfortable to talk about the uncomfortable.
Right.
So that's what God gave me. He was like, you can help people deal with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And then I thought about children who are expecting a sibling, because I love children and I am very sensitive to children, their young minds and their development. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to make this story an elephant story about how they were expecting a sibling to come home. The
Yeah.
siblings now not coming home, and the parents have to give them something else to hold on to, right?
Mm. Jesus.
So
Mm.
that's how that was birthed. Um, and that's what
Wow.
came out of me. It didn't, sometimes often when you deal with pain and trauma, I always led with love. So even with writing this book, I had to lead with love. I could always go back and write a tell-all book of what happened and how it happened and the dynamics, and have people be like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you experienced that," But that's not what I got out of this, because I need to honor the son,
Right.
and my son was made with love, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if it's going to honor him, I wanted to honor him in love. And so I was like,
Mm.
he, in a way, could still symbolize a way to help other children who are
Yeah.
still here and deal with such a loss, and help
Yeah.
parents with telling their children about such a loss.
Yeah.
So prayerfully, I've been dealing with some issues this year health wise, but prayerfully because I was on the fast track to like, okay, let's get puzzles out and things like that. And that's one thing I want to do is definitely get the puzzles out in 2025 so that people
Mm-hmm.
can sit down and put this puzzle together of this a baby elephant with a blue balloon. Because it's
Yeah.
like puzzle pieces back to your life, right?
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
So that will be happening along with the hard copy in 2025, and just sharing more of my story to teach people how to love themselves better through
Mm-hmm.
tragedy. You don't have to
Yeah.
leave the tragedy. The tragedy is there; it's already going to exist, but you can learn how to love yourself better dealing with
Mm-hmm.
such tragedy.
Yeah.
And that's very important to me. So that's how that book came to life for me. Yeah, I have a huge baby elephant with a blue balloon on my arm, a tattoo. Can't believe that. That
Yeah.
happened. But
Yeah.
so
The baby elephant with the blue balloon.
mhm.
This book helps families cope with the loss of a child or children, promoting healing through the symbol of the blue balloon. This is a testament to everlasting love and memory. I love this. I love this. I love this. Um, your books are available on Amazon. Where else are your books available, Trevilia?
Right now on Amazon, we're going to launch out more in 2025 because Tabitha Brown promoted my book, and I'm very excited about that. And so it's like, thank you, Tabitha.
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
that gives me another level of resurgence. And then one of my goals, honestly, and I'll say it openly, is to have to work with St. Jude and different platforms of that magnitude with this book, and
yeah,
maybe talk to parents and help them with it and how to cope, and just taking it day by day. So and for people to not hold on to it as long as I did, because
yeah,
you never know what's going to come out of it, you know.
yeah.
But I'm glad it came out when it came out, because what came out of it for me, when I get the response of how people feel,
Mm,
and I said, if
yeah,
only one person gets the book, I would be happy. And I was excited. I was like, yay. And it's now, I don't know how many people have the book and sharing it, and kids
yeah.
getting pictures of children reading the book. Ooh, I'm not gonna cry on this podcast
Well,
because
if you do, it's okay. If you do, it's okay. It just shows that you have heart.
I do.
And I think it's beautiful. I really, we met a couple months ago, and I remember listening to you tell me your story about the loss of your child. I didn't know all the details, like as much as I know tonight. Um, but since I have talked to you, and I talked to someone else that had experienced abortions, I actually wrote a book. And my book is about my journey from miscarriage.
Oh wow.
But it wasn't just a normal miscarriage. And when you said the word miscarriage and guilt, my book is called Unspoken Grief. And it's talking about the miscarriage. But my thing was, I was in an unhappy marriage and I did not want the baby, and I spoke it. And so, the Bible says the power of life and death is in the tongue. And so I spoke those words, and then ultimately, not only the stress from the marriage, but those words, and I ended up losing the baby. And
Oh,
so, like a lot of women who have had natural miscarriages or, been responsible or abortions or whatever, we carry this guilt.
mhm.
We carry this shame. We carry this, what could I have done different?
Yeah.
And I thought it was very profound that you used some of those very same words that, that was in my heart to express my thoughts and feelings too, which I want to talk to you after the podcast, because I'm going to have a panel discussion about this very subject. And
Oh,
I would love for you to be one of the panel guests as well. It's going to be centered around the book, but again, it's going to be not only women for miscarriage, but any type miscarriage, abortion, any kind of loss of a child. And so we'll talk about that afterwards. But I had to say that because, um, wow, you just, mm,
I'm proud of you for that, because That's going to help heal, and that's what we need to do. It's about us helping each other heal as we heal
Yeah.
ourselves. And I'm glad to
Yeah.
have met you and to even hear that. That's powerful, and for you to be able to share that. So,
And I respect you so much for writing your story, because so many people would have went at it from the aspect of wanting to talk about the domestic violence side of it. That would have been the whole show, you know.
yeah,
But the fact that you took the beauty out of it and the love and the life, you said that baby was created in love, you know. That is amazing, you know, and that was part of what I had to be forgiven for, because I forgot that. I forgot that part of it. I just knew I was being selfish and didn't want the baby, but I forgot about the love part and the creation, like a lot of us when we make decisions, rash decisions. And so I salute you for thinking about that part, because that book could have went a whole different way. But look at God, what He did, you know, through you. So thank you, thank you.
oh, you're welcome.
Um,
Thank you.
you brought humanity to that. Just the thought of it tonight, just like wow, you know. Um, you're trying to make me emotional. Not tonight.
I appreciate
Okay.
you. This
Um,
is powerful work, and I would love to be a part of your panel because
wow.
it's a
Yeah.
discussion, and that's phenomenal. Let me say, because
Yeah.
2025 is going to bring forth some great things, and definitely healing is needed too, in
Yeah.
some areas. So I'm looking forward to that.
We
Yeah.
definitely have to get to the point that we talk about some stuff. Trevelia, it's been 29 years. I didn't talk about it for 29 years.
Mhm.
Literally.
I
It
understand.
happened. Um, and I'm not sure if you allowed yourself to really process that. I've talked to some other women and they had a moment to grieve, and then it was just like back to reality, like nothing happened.
Mhm.
Did you allow yourself to grieve and go through the grieving process?
Absolutely not.
You didn't either, huh?
I didn't think I deserved it.
So you
Right.
were back to work, back just like nothing happened. So I guess that's what we do.
Right. Because there's no forums like you're creating to speak about,
Mm,
to go to someone and say take the time. And I'm not saying that there's not any, so let me not generalize it.
yeah,
Um, I don't
we
hear them.
don't know of them. Yeah,
Right.
we don't know. Yeah,
And for someone to say you need to mourn, you need to take the time, you need to grieve, you need to do all the things. Guilt will rob you of so much, right? So if you're
yeah.
dealing with guilt, how do you mourn? If you're dealing with guilt, how do you say I need to take a moment? If you're dealing with I shoulda, woulda, coulda, how do so for me, like you 20 years, it was 20 years for me, 29 years
Mm,
for you. I didn't speak about it. I was so embarrassed, but that's what guilt does. It robs you. And then you're processing. And then it's like after 20 years, you see people grow, you see people have children around you, and they're going to graduations and they're doing all the things. And then you start feeling some feelings. That's what happened to me. And that's when God said, this is killing you, like literally, you know. Um,
mhm.
and you don't have to feel imposter syndrome because you don't get a card from your child on Mother's Day. You do not have
Mm,
to feel that, you
yeah,
know, because you are who you are because you are who you are in the
wow.
discussion, right?
Yeah.
And we oftentimes let people rob us of that because
Hmm.
as women, even men do, but as women, for the majority, the studies behind it, how often we deal with imposter syndrome, you
A
know?
lot.
And
Yeah.
so for me, I had to work through that. So my grieving and my mourning literally started in 2020 after 20
Mm,
years of silence. And then
wow.
the book didn't come out until 24. So I took my time for myself because then it was like, I don't really want to share him because I never got to have him and share him with other people. So I don't
Mm,
want to share him, right? But it's not about me. If the Lord could share Jesus, then hey,
yeah.
I could share my son. And
Yeah.
hopefully, things will take off and people will have discussions and they will have an elephant with the blue balloon in their home and they'll, you know,
Mm,
to walk past it and realize they do matter. That child is still a part of them and don't let the guilt rob them of the love. That's why I
yeah.
call the second subtitle is a symbol of love because we don't need to, we need to stop robbing ourselves of love. We have to, we have to stop robbing ourselves of love. That's very
We try to love everybody else on 10,
on
but
10.
then save the leftovers for ourselves, and that's sad, isn't it?
All right. And that's not, it's not okay.
No, it's not okay. It's not okay. And oh we this is oh we
That's
I
been,
ooh,
if you loved yourself on 10 or 20, even if you gave people the leftovers, do you know how much power would be in those leftovers?
yeah,
Right? So you're
it'd be a lot.
giving people scraps if you're giving them 10 because you're
Yeah,
not even loving yourself on it. But if you do the opposite and you're the conduit and what you give them afterwards will be greater than what you give them now because you're
yeah,
not loving on yourself. Because you're going to be greater, you'll be better, you'll be, more powerful, giving yourself what you have to give. I literally had to do a live tonight, and that's why I was like, I can't believe the schedule today because today was supposed to end much earlier than what it did. And the
mm,
conversation asking people, how do you check in with yourself? Have you checked
mm,
in with yourself? It's a season to check in with yourself because we're
mm,
navigating so much in this season. And so
mm-hmm,
I even told people I was like, I was gonna not do the live, but then I had to say, okay, relax, calm down. You're gonna do this and do this and then do this, and then you're gonna meet all your obligations because this is a part of what you're supposed to do because you've already given out so much already today. But
yeah,
you said you were gonna give yourself these things. And
yeah,
so, here we are. And who knew all of this would come out? And I hope
yeah,
whoever's listening gets more than what they need, more than what they expected, so they can be honest with themselves as they're living this life to the fullest. Because you only get one shot.
yeah. Yeah, we've got to get to the point that we stop lying to ourselves, feeling the imposter syndrome, giving ourselves um not giving ourselves the benefit of doubt. We just kind of just throw ourselves out there, and whatever happens, happens. And we've been. This is a much deeper conversation than tonight, but I'll just say this: we have been taught generationally to just go with the flow, to just show up, to just go with tradition, to just do what mama Nim and grandma Nim and everybody else did and just don't have a voice, don't have thoughts, don't have feelings.
Absolutely.
And um, I think that we are finally now getting to a point where we've hit a brick wall and it's like, that's not working.
Mhm.
That's not working. We've got to do something different, not only for just this generation, but for the generations to come.
Mhm.
Um, and it does start with us standing up for ourselves and kind of having a voice, facing traumas and calling them what they are because you can't fix stuff you won't acknowledge, right?
Right.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you have a movement that you started called Replace Loss with Love.
Mhm.
Kind of tell us a little bit about that and how you came up with that.
It was 20. I don't mean to do that, y'all. I apologize.
You somewhere else right now?
You know what? No, because that is such a good moment in my life. And I was in my bathroom.
Okay.
And I'm telling you, the Lord does speak to me. He has since I was a child, you know. And some days I don't understand why he rock with me the way he does, but he does. Okay.
Yeah.
And so he said, I want you to teach my people how to replace loss with love because I've allowed you to do it. And
Mm,
do it in the space of being authentic with who you are and joyous within yourself and really being able to restore. And he
mhm.
said, I need you to teach my people how to do that. So I spoke it out loud at an event. I was a part of American Sesh with Pinky Cole in 2023. And I met some people and I said, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna develop this. And I've been slowly doing it. And I'm still, working on all the aspects of it. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
it's time to implement this, implement that, so you can really do it. And I think if people learn how to replace loss with love, we would be in a better space.
Yeah.
Um, and we could leave legacy for the generations to come to walk into a better space,
Yeah.
because of the path that we leave for them. And it's not just the loss of people, it's the loss of self, it's the loss of opportunity, it's the loss of relationships. It's the loss of, a promotion. It could be something, but there's something in it that needs to be replaced with it. And then there's a greater aspect that comes from it with a greater avenue of loving yourself. What do you learn about it? What did you learn about that loss? All the
Mm.
things that we don't take time to talk about or feel like we don't have the time to talk about, right? And I'll be doggone if we don't have the time, we do, because you get one shot at this life. So,
Mm.
now I sound real country like my grandfather. I'll be doggone. But, I don't know where that came from, but
Yeah.
it came from the soul, deep
Yeah.
down inside, just to let people know that, like, I have alopecia. So usually I'm bald. And as you see a little fuzz here, you see a little fuzz there. And I was gonna put my wig on, and I was like, no, I'm not, because I don't wear it normally. I did for a few months this year because I was traveling. It was very cold. So
Okay.
your head gets cold really fast when you're bald, just to know.
Yeah.
Now I don't wear it because of obligation. I wear it because it's like a hat, you know.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
but um, that loss, right? Who am I to me now that I'm me with the alopecia? Who are you? How
Right.
are you going to show up for you, right?
Hmm.
So usually it's bald out of nowhere, and I've been hiding it for a few months now. My hair started growing again,
Mm.
not all over and droves and things like that. And I said, okay, what do we do? So I had to speak to the person that dealt with this alopecia for all these years. I speak to the person who didn't have it and had hair down her back and all the things, and said, let's just see what happens, because it's winter. We can wear wigs. If not, we'll just go back to being 100% bald come spring.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And I was able to make a decision because I replaced that loss with love. So
Right.
one part of replacing that loss with love was I coined the phrase Baldhead Baddi. Love the name. I'm always
Yeah.
going to be her. Even if my hair grows again and somebody says, well, why do you have this nickname? It's because I have a story about when I went through alopecia and what was going on with me, right? But the reality is, and even in that, I probably would never let my hair grow back down unless the Lord said or I chose to it. I'll keep it really, really low.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I can now have a conversation with who I showed up as, because I wasn't hiding behind this alopecia person anymore. I wasn't hiding behind the pain of dealing with that, or don't know what to do with it, or who to speak to about it.
Yeah.
We have taken that reign by our hands and took that reign and
Right.
said, okay, I am her. So then I had the conversation with the old me and said, okay, what are we going to do right now? So right
Right.
now, while I'm under the wigs or the caps, the hair is growing. We're going to see where it goes. And if it grows enough in the front where it's really, really thin and where the
Hmm.
alopecia is the most, then I'll wear it low, you
Hmm.
know, maybe put a color in it. I don't know. But if I never replace that loss with the love of
Yeah.
me, a greater love of me,
Yeah.
a greater love of the respect that I have for me, right?
Right.
I could never come to this crossroad and do it healthfully. So for
Mm.
me, I want people to then, if you learn to do that, you'll make healthier decisions
Hmm.
comes to
Hmm.
you as a person.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Wow. You- Amazing, amazing, amazing. What is the greatest life lesson that life has taught you? What do you think that would be?
Ooh, it's gonna start off sounding cliche.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say not to give up.
Okay.
I want to explain this. Being a Black woman,
Hmm.
the greatest of all people, I'm gonna say that for me. The
Yeah.
people that do.
Yeah.
It's easy to give in to what society say you're supposed to be statistically,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's easy to crumble
Hmm.
because to exist as a Black woman is very hard.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I just had a doctor say to me the other day, she says, "Ms. Hodge, please learn how to regulate your stress even more while you're healing with this leg." She said, because you're already disenfranchised as a Black woman. And she went down this whole road. I did not expect her to say that. And she,
Wow.
Yeah, and she said, um, I want you to do it even more. Learn to be more gentle. Learn to be more. She said because you deserve it. Not only that, but it's going to help you heal faster.
Oh, wow.
I was like so blown away by this doctor, like so blown away.
Hmm.
Younger white female doctor,
Yeah.
humanitarian, right?
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I can do that because I know what that means, and I know how. And I'll ask God to show me too how to be softer, how to be gentler,
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? And so for me, when some days I thought suicide was the only out,
Mm.
so when I say keep going,
Yeah. It's heavy.
because when I think about that girl and that woman,
Hmm.
the two times that was I was very close. It's been more than
Hmm.
twice. Two times I was very close.
Yeah.
When I think about her, she would have never experienced me. Forget all the things that I've done. Forget all the
Yeah.
travel I've been to. Forget all the people I've met.
Hmm.
She would have never got to experience me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is truly the most phenomenal part of living is to get to
Yeah.
experience yourself and to
Yes.
experience the growth and the boldness and the braveness and the audacity of it all. Even for me to say the greatest of all people is the Black woman. Not to
Yeah.
say people are not smarter or not more disciplined and well trained and all the things,
Yeah.
but what we have to endure and we still put our best foot forward.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm grateful to be her. I'm grateful to arrive to where I am today, which
Yeah.
gives me permission to arrive at a greater me every time I grow and every
Yeah.
year that I get older, every day that I get older, every month that I get older, every second that I get older. I have the opportunity to arrive at a greater Trevilia. So for me,
Hmm.
keep going is the greatest life lesson because while I had to forgive myself for the times that I was so dark, even if it
Hmm.
was for a few minutes, not even
Yeah.
a day or for a few minutes, but then to say, okay, but you still are her now. So go
Yeah.
her and be her and be great and do better.
Yeah.
And that's just where I'm at. So I could tell anybody keep going because
Hmm.
January of last year, I couldn't tell December of this year, Trevelia, not only is your book going to go out, people are going to buy it, people are going to talk about how their lives been changed, people are going to testify about it, people are going to put you on their podcast, people are going to want to sit down and put you on here, Tabitha
Yeah.
Brown show your book on her show. Who would have
Yeah.
known? So what is 25 going to do for me? You
It's
know?
gonna be big. Yeah. It's big. It's already big. Yeah.
Amen. And that's
Yeah.
where I saw when I say keep going, even when you don't want to, or you're like, I have nothing else to go on. Go on the fact that you have not met who you are yet
Yeah.
and have the
Slowly.
to meet her or to meet him.
Yeah.
However you define yourself. I know we got the non-binary people out there, or to meet them respectfully. You know,
Yeah.
go on that energy. I get to meet this person I have yet to meet, and I don't know what they're gonna bring into my life. And I can look in the mirror and say, man, I'm glad I met you. And when I tell you the 8-year-old me that got one of the biggest life-changing things that happened to her when she was 8, to meet the 50-year-old me, baby,
Yeah.
I'm in good company. You understand?
That's a blessing.
And I'm very grateful for that.
That is truly a blessing. Looking at it from the hello, Pastor Annetta. She said, "Introduce you to you." I love that. Um, that is amazing. The way you were able to vocalize that, the younger version of yourself
Mhm.
meeting the older version of yourself, but that older version. And so I say that, but I've said it in a different way. My younger version of myself was my broken, was my distraught version, and
Mhm.
my adult healed version. Now I'm able to go back and still help repair things that
Yeah,
she needed to, repaired,
yeah.
and I'm able to do tributes to her.
Mhm.
Um, one of my last name is Stephanie Haggerty, but my pen name is Stephanie M. Seaton
Mhm.
because everything that I do is a tribute to my younger self.
Okay.
And that is why I chose to write and to do my ministry and to do everything under Stephanie M. Seaton, because that is the young girl
Mhm.
that all of this got started behind.
Yeah.
And I needed to be able to do these things to restore and to heal her. And so I think that's beautiful. And we as women, especially women of color, we wear so many hats. We carry so many bags, so
Mhm.
many jobs, so many titles, and we still have to some type of way find time and space for ourselves. And I don't think for me, I know, like, when I at the end of the night, whether it's 11 or 12 or midnight, Trevelia, I finally get in the bed and I lay there and I'm just like, wow, Lord. And I have a moment to really think about the fact that I've been going all day and I'm just now getting a moment to myself late
Mhm.
at night and early in the morning.
Mhm.
That is the time that I get to myself. And I talk to the Lord throughout the day, but
Mhm.
my most precious time with the Lord is late at night and early in the morning, because otherwise there's so many things on our list.
Yeah.
I imagine you got those lists too, huh? Yeah, we have those lists, but
Those
listen,
are best times of day though, because those are the most still moments to me. Like early in the
yeah,
morning or late at night, it seems like the
yeah,
earth is the most still, you know?
yeah, I love it. It's like I think that the Lord chooses to speak the most. I know for me, I feel like He chooses to speak to me the most because then I'm calm and I'm not in control at that moment.
Mm.
If you're a person that's a dot 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 person, kind of like me, dot dot dot. When I'm
Mhm.
in the bed and it's early in the morning and late at night, I don't have time for dot dot dot, and
Yeah.
so I can fully release and let Him have control. And we talk to the Lord throughout the day, in the middle of the day, and during the course of the day. But the most revelation I get, where I have to get up out of the bed and record myself, and when He's telling me something that I like cannot let myself forget,
Yes.
it's between 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I gotta grab my phone, come to my computer, and just start saying everything He's telling me,
Mhm.
because He's not gonna let me go back to sleep until I do it. And I'd be like, okay, okay, let me just. But yeah, I mean, I love that time with the Lord. I love the fact that the Lord shows us areas that we have areas. I'm gonna call them areas of opportunity, Surveyor. He shows us areas of opportunity for growth, for healing, for deliverance, because sometimes we can think we're good, and then we'll have to dig all the way back to 20 years ago, to 29 years ago, and he'd be like, that little thing over there has become a secret. it
Hello.
has become it has become one of those little things, one of those thorns,
Mhm.
and we got to get to the root of it in order to cross over to the other side. And so, amazing, amazing courage. The baby elephant with the blue balloon. Story of loss and promoting healing through the symbol of the baby blue balloon. Miss Trevilia Hodge has her book on all major platforms. How can they get in touch with you if they want to contact you? Give us all of your social media handles and everything.
Um, so well, you can find me at the Baldhead Baddi with an I, not an E, because I always say the E is for everybody else. Okay.
Okay.
Baddi on TikTok and on Instagram. I don't really use Instagram a lot, that platform, but definitely on TikTok. Or you can find me at Replace Loss with Love on Instagram. I have a website, replacelostwithlove.com. You can shoot an email there and I'll get back to you that way. But whichever way, whether it's the Baldhead Baddi or Replace Lost with Love, you can reach me either or, and we can connect definitely. Or Replace Lost with Love at Gmail. Yeah, I have a Gmail account as well. If you want to email me,
All right. Very good. I'm going to give you three words as we come to a close.
okay?
Um, give you three words, and I want you to tell me which one stands out the most for you, and then tell myself and the viewers why. Healing, empowerment, transformation. Tell us which one stands out the most and give us an example of why.
Definitely transformation.
Mm, okay.
transformation. Or I could speak to all three, but for me,
Yeah.
transformation is because um, with my relationship with God is one of my devotions to Him is to
Yeah.
stay open,
Hmm.
and with staying open, I transform because that's how I operate in my obedience, right?
Yeah.
So if He asks me to do something, I do it. I have to be open,
Right.
and certain things that I've been asked to do, like even moving to Texas by myself,
Yeah.
nobody, just literally alone, family I hadn't seen in decades that lived here, the only people I knew, and it was not even a handful. And I
Mm,
moved here, no job opportunity, nothing. But the Lord said it's time, and I need you to go, and I left.
mm. Yeah.
Um, and in that, I transformed to this person that I probably would have never met if I didn't live in that openness. So for me, transformation automatically says, openness, obedience, to give back to what God gave you before the beginning of the earth that He knew already preordained for you.
Right.
And sometimes when things happen in life, whether it's trauma or triumph, you transform. If
Ooh, I
you
like that. Hmm.
go from a thousandaire to a millionaire, you're going to transform. It's the same
Hmm.
thing. Go from trauma to triumph. In that, you're going to transform, right?
Yeah.
So to transform is to be able to reinvent yourself. So then, when things come, you don't take it as a crashing, but an opportunity to
Yeah.
transform.
Yeah.
Um, and so this is how I can be who I am to myself and then to others, and to be able to serve and be a cheerful giver, you know,
Mhm.
is through transformation. So that's why I would choose that word.
I love that. I love that. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking to you tonight, ma'am.
You're up.
Um,
Let's
just,
get
huh? Yeah, listen, we almost brought out the tissues. But you know what? I hope that you're available. That event that I was telling you about is going to be Saturday, March the 8th. And
okay.
it's going to be in Fort Worth at the Dock Bookshop. And I pray that you're available for that. It is going to be an amazing opportunity. I'm calling it a woman's talk, and I pray that there are women from all diversities that will come out and have this conversation. The name of the book, what I was given is unspoken grief, and just talking to you, talking to the other ladies that I have spoken to. I had a discussion about it with a couple of ladies the other night on my platform, and there's so many stories that we just, and I say we, meaning we've just tucked it away,
Mhm.
we've buried it, and, some of us are still not ready to talk about it. But, I pray that the Lord will touch our hearts and our minds, and this will be a really big opportunity for deliverance. That's the prayer.
Well, I
Yeah.
definitely love to be there. I'm honored that you would think of me to be on the panel, um, because I have a book coming out called Navigating the Empty Chair: How to Replace Loss with Love.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Whoa.
come out
Wow.
very soon. Um,
Okay.
and it's going to talk about empty chairs and different empty chairs, chairs that you may not
Yeah.
consider, where something once was.
Mm,
And so
that sounds powerful already.
I'm
Seriously.
excited about it. I'm excited
Yeah.
about it. So I believe that this is aligned into what God has for me to also be there to just encourage people, um, and see where we go from there. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I will definitely send you the information over and lock it in on your calendar, and I'll send you the promotionals and things of that sort. But again, Trevelia Hodge been here tonight talking about her book, and it is just amazing, amazing, amazing. The way that she told her story, the way that she gave tribute to her baby boy. And so the baby elephant with the blue balloon, go out and support and get a copy of her book. She's going to be at my event March the 8th. So come on out to the event, and then you can have her sign your book, and you can take a picture with her and all of those good things. Thank you so much to everybody for tuning in tonight for another amazing episode of the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show. We have had an amazing time tonight, fellowshipping, heartfelt conversation. I know that there's a lot of people that are still dealing with things, men and women dealing with the loss of children, miscarriage, abortions, whatever, method, but there's nothing that can replace that life, that child. And so once we unpack those emotions and those feelings, then we give the Lord an opportunity to help us to heal in those areas so that we can go on and be the men and women that the Lord has called us to be. And so, again, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Like, tag, and share. Make sure that you share this episode with somebody that you know is going through any of the things that we talked about tonight so that this can start the conversation for healing. Okay. Thank you again. Thank you again for tuning in tonight. You guys have an amazing night. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
If you would like to be a guest on the Stephanie M. Seaton Sunday Show, email Stephanie at stephaniemseatontheauthor@gmail.com.